Hello. Can you hear me out there in the YouTube world? This is so exciting to be here live. We are going to be talking about the Marvels trailer that just dropped. This is super exciting. Welcome to the deep dive, by the way. I'm Erik Voss, and we're going to do a live analysis and discussion of this awesome trailer of the Marvels. Now, if you want to see and like react with me, we actually have something really special coming over on the main New Rockstars channel. It's going to be a group reaction with a few of us reacting to this. So this isn't going to be like my initial reaction to this trailer. You'll have to see that on the New Rockstars channel. It's going to be coming up in just a few hours. Here, I'm just going to really be taking your questions on what you most loved about this Marvels trailer, what your questions are about what all this is. It's really exciting. I actually saw a version of this trailer at D23. In September of last year, and it's pretty much the same trailer. There are some differences. I'm going to go through what I believe those differences are. But doesn't this trailer seem really fun? Like the music, I forgot how entertaining Iman Vellani in particular is as Kamala Khan. She's even between this trailer and what we saw in Ms. Marvel, she's even grown into the character even more. She's such a delight. And I had the pleasure of actually getting to interview Iman Vellani. She really loved she really loved the breakdowns New Rockstars did about Ms. Marvel, and we had, I think, what was one of my favorite videos that I did in 2022 was just the chance to interview her. She actually reached out to us and said, hey, can I talk to Erik at New Rockstars? And I'm like, can I talk to Iman Vellani at Marvel Studios? And I also have to give her a shout out because recently, we had this Across the Spider-Verse trailer came out that kind of redefined the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Earth 199999 from Multiverse of Madness, which tried to claim it was 616, and that was one thing that she was like confused about, rightfully so. I think a lot of people were confused about that designation, and if that designation holds, or that's something, let's talk about that actually later in this live stream. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I'm looking at the chat right now. I see Blake, I see Vedant Shah, I see Pack of Weevils, 86. Thank you for your super chat. On a scale of 1 to 10, how hyped for you are you for Chewie? I'm so if you're referring to the goose, I think Goose is the name in the movie. The Flurkin. It looks like we're going to see a lot of Flurkins. The Flurkin was one of my favorite things from Captain Marvel 2019. So yeah, a 10 on that scale. I love it 3000 on that scale. Thank you all for joining. Let's go through this trailer. Without further ado, last to note are my frame-by-frame analysis of all the Easter eggs in this trailer. You're just getting me kind of unfiltered in this moment as I'm still going through it with you, but the real polished Easter egg breakdown is going to be on tomorrow's output on the New Rockstars channel. Jessica and I are going to team up and go through this, so you're just going to see my initial perception of everything. But like the really great video that you come to expect from New Rockstars, tune in tomorrow on New Rockstars and you'll see it there. Okay, so interesting things to point out here at the beginning of the trailer. This is the Saber space station. Now, they call it the Saber space station, but it is really essentially the Peak. The Peak is the space station of S.W.O.R.D., and it looks very similar to this. But they use the term Saber. I'm kind of curious what Saber might stand for, because the acronyms kind of change from the comics to the screen. Even S.W.O.R.D. has a slightly different meaning in the MCU. But I also like that we're getting these coordinates. Now, one thing to point out, I'm sorry if I'm in the way of the coordinates, but I'm leaning the wrong way. Going through the Guardians of the Galaxy recently, which I am, because later in the second half of this month, we're going to do a Guardians of the Galaxy rewatch in the Deep Dive channel. Yeah, there's obviously a secret to the coordinates in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. James Gunn has more or less confirmed that. The Captain Marvel films also use similar coordinates to kind of give a star map geolocation to everything. But this is just in Earth's orbit, so it's interesting that we're getting basically the Terra coordinates. But that's just one thing that the Captain Marvel did. When Carol Danvers returned to Earth, they called it Terra because from a Kree perspective, this is how they would designate it. Yeah, so Nick Fury is on the space station. So we have to assume that this is the same Skrull space station that Nick Fury was on at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home. This is where he's been hanging out recently, while Talos and Soren have been taking his place and Maria Hill's place back on Earth. This is where he'll be before Secret Invasion. However, the question is, Secret Invasion is going to be coming out before. The first episode of Secret Invasion will be June 21st. This is coming out in November. So I think the idea is going to be he's going back and forth between the space station. Or who knows? Maybe this is a different space station than the Skrull one, and there's like a couple different space stations in orbit, and where the Skrulls were at the end of the Far From Home post-credit scene is somewhere in a distant galaxy as they were still looking for a new home. Now, does this mean Nick Fury is the director of S.W.O.R.D.? No, I don't think so. I think the director of S.W.O.R.D. is going to be Abigail Brand, and they just haven't introduced her yet. But what's going on right now? Monica Rambeau is in orbit, and she said she's approaching what she calls the jump point. Now, something that I don't know if you guys saw a second ago, that jump point, they have this interesting hexagonal grid over here. This is what's called the UNTN. I think I got that right. That's basically the way that the galaxy is organized. It has a kind of a hexagonal grid, and that's how they open up wormholes to jump around in space. That was actually first established, I believe, in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, maybe Guardians Volume 2. I don't remember seeing it in Volume 1. Again, you're really going to love the rewatch series that we're doing. I have covered Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 so many times. I've made so many videos about it. I've broken down the full movie at least twice for the new Rockstars channel, and still, somehow, watching this movie again, I've discovered at least 20 new details that I can't believe I missed these before. And I looked around, I'm like, I don't think anyone has seen these before. So, and I have questions about them that I want you guys to like help me out with. Yeah, hexagons, not all hexagons are created equally in the MCU, folks. This is just the way that they organize the grid. It doesn't mean anything when it comes to WandaVision or other hexagons you see. It's just like a recurring shape in nature, and it's just one way to form like a tight grid of something, because the number 6 is just natural in nature. Natural in nature is a redundant phrase. Sorry about that. Okay, so Monica Rambeau is entering what she calls the jump point. So when we last saw Monica, it was in the WandaVision post-credit scene, and she was recruited by a Skrull agent who worked for the government in that movie theater in Westview. And she pointed up at the sky. Someone wants to meet with her. And that someone, I guess, is Nick Fury. Nick Fury needs someone who is an astronaut to work on the space station. I'm sure that they're kind of patrolling Earth's orbit, because the whole point of S.W.O.R.D. in the comics is to do what S.H.I.E.L.D. did, but kind of put it outward and look out at the stars for intergalactic threats. Intergalactic, choice of word there, obvious, because that is the song, the Beastie Boys song. When I saw this trailer at D23, it was also Beastie Boys Intergalactic, but they recut it a little bit here. It's mostly the same, but like they do different things with the music. They use different parts of the song, and they show a bit more, I believe, in the D23 trailer. I think you see different shots of Zoe Ashton's villainous character. I just love seeing Monica Rambeau again in the MCU. She was such a delight coming out of WandaVision, and it's been so long. I think Tiana Paris is an amazing actress, and she had such a fun take on Monica Rambeau. She's one of these Phase 4 entries that like works for me right away, and I'm so glad she's coming back in this. I think there's like, just watching this trailer, there's so much chemistry coming from these 3 women, and the way they work together and the way they butt heads, I think is really cleverly designed by director Nia DaCosta in this movie. Nude Master says, off topic, do you think we will see a Loki and Thor reunion? That is off topic. I think maybe in Secret Wars. I think that would be the soonest we see a Loki Thor reunion. And then Johnny Tsunami, Intergalactic Beastie Boys is a fire choice. Agree, Johnny Tsunami, and great choice. We should go do original Disney Channel movies breakdowns on this channel. That'd be a lot of fun. I should not have suggested that, because now people are going to be hounding me on that. Okay, so this jump point. Um, it's just interesting. This is not, from what I can tell, the hexagonal UNT and grid. This is something else. There's some other kind of anomaly that's in Earth's orbit. This might be why Monica Rambeau was recruited. I love this sense of scale here of just her like tiny astronaut form floating towards whatever this is. But yeah, you can see some over on the right side too. There's some kind of anomaly, and one must wonder, is this what caused the transference? Oh, that's a fun detail. It looks like her suit is already starting to change from her astronaut suit to what someone else would be wearing underneath. So basically, what has happened is in the post-credit scene of Ms. Marvel that came out last summer, it ended with Kamala Khan in her bedroom in New Jersey, and then she shifts. Her body does this interesting, weird, like twisty, ribbony thing that does not look like other times people have teleported or phase shifted through something. And she trades place with Carol Danvers. So wherever Carol Danvers was is now where Kamala Khan is, and it looks like Kamala Khan is now switching with Monica Rambeau. So in Monica's spacesuit is Kamala Khan, which means that Monica is now going to switch to where Carol Danvers just was. So we're seeing whatever the suit of Carol Danvers was in that context. It looks like she might have been on some either a battle setting or some diplomatic mission gone awry. Another chat here. Graveyard, Depraved Gourd. How much do you think this will tie into MT's Marvel trigger theory on colors and their meanings to explain the place swaps that happen? You'll have to ask MT about his color theory. I love the way he thinks about all that stuff. I don't fully understand all of the different color coding. From my experience, like the colors do not always mean the same thing across titles. So I think within a movie, and sometimes even within the MCU, when it comes to the Infinity Stones, like the color blue or the color green or the color purple means something across titles, but it's not always universally true. And I think that's been proven, especially in Phase 4. They've let go. I think that only really applied with Infinity Stones. When it comes to cosmic energy beyond that, I think when we see Monica Rambeau phase shifting through cosmic energy, it has a similar teal slash like fuchsia color to it, but that doesn't necessarily connect to every other time we've seen the color teal and fuchsia with other characters. 86, you think this takes place after Secret Invasion? Generally, movies and TV shows take place in chronological order with their releases, unless otherwise stated. And the confusing thing is the Marvel Cinematic Universe timeline order watch playlist on Disney Plus, because that is always confusing and it's always inconsistent with everything else. It's just the person in charge of that upload playlist on Disney Plus, I think, is just like reading from a different playbook as everyone else. Okay, let's move forward with this trailer. So immediately, it seems like immediately upon touching this anomaly is when the shift happens. And Iman Vellani is so funny, just her screaming. So I have to ask, do you guys think her touching that is what caused the switch to happen? Or was it already in the process of happening? And there's also like a time travel consideration one could have here with when it comes to like predestination, because Ms. Marvel, the TV show, had like an interesting take on time travel and how time travel is predestined, which was also the case in Loki and also seemed to be the case in general until we had Endgame kind of introduce branch timelines. But the idea that Kamala Khan went back in time to save her own grandmother and set her own family history trajectory on a single timeline implied that predestination is the actual name of the game in the MCU. And I asked Iman Vellani about this, and she confirmed it. And she confirmed even that it might have been part of Kang's plan for her character and for all the Avengers and all the characters in the MCU. Let's see, GSU Eagle 117 asks, it seems like they're at the end. We finally get an idea of where the second bangle is. We'll get to that. But thank you for your super chat. So I love how Nick Fury is confused as hell, and she asks if this is an Avenger test. It's just so funny. Like, she knows him right away. And that's interesting that she knows who Nick Fury is, because a lot of characters in the MCU don't really know Nick Fury. We know who he is, but he's been a man in the shadows. He's been a secretive character. But she's done all of her homework. She's listened to all of Scott Lang's podcasts, and just by looking at him upside down in this chaos through a spacesuit helmet on a space station, can tell you. She knows who this guy is. It is like already just feels like this was like a test to become an Avenger. Like, she's been waiting for this moment. I thought that was great. Um, yeah. So yeah, this is where Carol Danvers was. And what is this costume she was wearing? That rift in space is not part of the UNTN. It's some other kind of anomalistic rift in space time. Um, but it's where Carol Danvers was a moment ago before Carol Danvers got thrown into Kamala Khan's bedroom. Now, was she fighting with these other folks? These look like Kree soldiers. These are the kind of helmets and suits they wear. It doesn't look like they have breathing apparatuses on this moon wherever they are, but doesn't it kind of remind you of in that Loki flashback scene in the Miss Minutes animation? We saw similar Kree soldiers going to war against some other civilization, and that's kind of what it looks like here. Now, where things were left with Carol Danvers and the Kree at the end of the 2019 Captain Marvel film, that was in the 90s, remember? Like, she really pissed off Jan Rog, but she let him live. She let him escape after she humiliated him in the desert. But yeah, she's not in a good place with the rest of the Kree. She's basically, left the Kree Empire to align herself politically with the Skrulls, because we found out in the movie that that group of Skrulls was not that nefarious, and they were just refugees who were hidden in Earth's orbit. And the Kree are jerks, as Glenn Close's character says in Guardians of the Galaxy. They're a bunch of a-holes, and that's basically what the Kree are. They're over imperialistic, and it seems like the Kree are going to be the enemy of this movie. Though I have some thoughts on Zawe Ashton's character that we're going to get to a little bit later. The gamer MJ says, "What moniker do you think Monica will go by in this movie?" I think Photon. Photon seems to be the case as opposed to Spectrum. But that's just because that was her mom's call sign. It seems like between them, that's the moniker they're going to use. Okay, so um, the way it's edited here is that it looks like Monica, like, trying to phase shift away from these soldiers is what switches to the moment Carol Danvers goes into Kamala Khan's bedroom. But I don't think that's necessarily the case. I just think they're just showing how these three women are synced. Yeah, this is the exact post-credit scene from Ms. Marvel, and uh, like, this is proof that Nia DaCosta did actually direct this post-credit scene. That's often the case, as the directors of the next title will do that. Let's see. I think I might have missed a super chat. Reg Roz says, "Can you please shout out my daughter Aria?" Hi Aria, thanks for being so cool, and thanks Reg for your super chat. Um, so yeah, I do love this moment from Brie Larson. I think her comedic take here was really funny. Just to be freaked out, to be like, how did I end up in the room of, like, my biggest fan? This is a little uncomfortable, because she says, "Oh, no, 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 no," just describing her cosmic circumstances. But I think there's also part of her like, "Oh, this is going to be uncomfortable." Interesting how they show us the MCU opening title card in this, where normally they don't do that in trailers, but this is a more recent one. She-Hulk has been added to it. You got Cap and Tony from Endgame. There's Moon Knight over there on the inner side of the R. I'm trying to see if there's anything else that's been added. Yeah, of course, Wanda from Endgame. "You took everything from me. I don't know who you are." So yeah, even the Marvel Studios title card shifts into space, which I think is interesting. Like, this is going to be kind of I think the central conceit of this movie is going to be these three women swapping places in a chaotic way, and by the end of it, they can better align and work together and use that to their advantage. I think one thing that I have certainly missed from the MCU in Phase 4 is an interesting application of superheroes' power sets. I think critics of the MCU will say too many characters are just using glowing energy and using it as beams, or using it as like a protective shield, or using it to manipulate reality. And I think this movie, based off of this trailer footage right now, seems to be doing just fun, goofy stuff with the three characters in ways that align with who these women are in their souls, how they relate to each other, and forcing it's kind of like that gimmick that you see in movies of characters being handcuffed together and having to use that to, like, trip people and clothesline people. This is doing that in three different dimensions and forcing them to, like, figure it out. And I think that's just a really fun visual idea for a movie. I can see why they greenlit this. I know there's been rumors that there's been a lot of reshoots on this movie. They've had to do an overhaul. I don't know how true those are. It seems to be like every Marvel movie is going through reshoots and is going through an overhaul. That's just like kind of the way the studio makes movies, for better or worse. But from what I saw, this trailer is mostly unchanged from D23. It doesn't look like tonally a very different movie. So either they're just using the same footage and they aren't showing us the parts that were changed, or that fundamentally this is going to be the same kind of movie that it's been from its heart. Brian, thank you for your super chat, says, if it helps you both, collaborate with Rob at Comics Explain. Imagine how hype that would be. I love the work that Rob does at Comics Explain. I think I was on a Rooster Teeth panel with him one time. Really smart guy, an amazing host, amazing researcher. Humbleson James says, this is before or after Eternals? If after, shouldn't we be able to see Tiamat from space? Good question. They never addressed Tiamat in the MCU. It's definitely after Eternals, but I'm just going to quickly go back to see. I don't think we're seeing the Indian Ocean necessarily here. That looks like that might even be North America right there. I'm not exactly sure. But yeah, we should be. Tiamat's head should be poking out of the stratosphere and suffocating everyone on Earth. But they don't talk about the physics of that ever in the MCU. They just kind of let that go. I assume it will come back. The rumors seem to be that that's going to be a new setting in Captain America 4, New World Order. So we'll see. Okay, so we're back in Jersey City here. I love that they bring back the Khan family. The mom was especially fun in that show. And yeah, I'm just excited that they're gonna keep it grounded. Looks like the coffee table was smashed, and that Kamala Khan was given this glassy tablet. And that picture, I believe, is a picture that we saw in the Captain Marvel show. They use the same file photo. Steven, thank you for your super chat. My daughter Sophie is very excited for the Marvels and Loki. Thanks for giving us content to share together. Mephisto confirmed. Thank you, Steven. And thank you, Sophie. You guys are the best. Yep, Mephisto is confirmed. Go watch my Mephisto live stream, because I was able to give everyone like a full history of what really happened with Mephisto and what I learned from that. Let's see. Donkey T, thank you for your super chat. Do you think Ronan will be involved at any point with the way he left in Captain Marvel? Ronan the Accuser. Well, it seems like this is taking place in the current timeline of the MCU after the events of Endgame. And at this point, Ronan is dead. So I don't think he's going to show up here unless we flash back to like where he went next. We will have to do another movie that's set in the aughts or in the late 90s or something like that to bring back Ronan. I don't think he's going to show up in this movie. Okay, sorry everybody. Moving ahead here. Yeah, so we'll break this down in the Easter egg breakdown. I love Monica Rambeau's wardrobe in this, but yeah, Kamala Khan has a Captain Marvel comic shirt that she's wearing, whereas it looks like Monica Rambeau is going as Photon at this point. Her abilities, unlike the other two, is she can really phase shift. Hayward tried to shoot the kids, and she was able to go in front of the bullets and kind of like deflect the bullets and slow them down by phase shifting them through her body. So in this case, she can't get like pruned or stabbed or jabbed in this one. So I kind of want to know what's going on in this room. It looks like, are these sword agents or are these Kree soldiers that have gotten in the room too? Is Nick Fury doing this? Yeah, so they're all freaked out. It looks like anytime any one of them uses their powers or activates their powers, that causes a shift. So in this case, when Kamala Khan uses her, starts to use her, where did they land on that clandestine light? The Jinn, or was like kind of a mixture of things. Definitely a mutation, right? She was a mutant. She was established as a mutant, but it's like a mixture of that and then the clandestine light through her grandmother, but it was also through herself. Yeah, she created the pathway of light, the path of light to save her grandmother, to bring her back to her great grandmother. Yeah, an interesting. I still have questions about how exactly her powers work, but anytime they use her powers, she shifts. And yeah, she turns right into. I guess it looks like Carol Danvers was mid-flight because now she's flying through their living room and breaking something else. Yeah, I think you saw Goose the Flurkin at Nick Fury's feet over here. So he's still got the cat. The cat's still alive. And I want to know where the cat's been like during the events of the Infinity Saga. Why didn't he help? Or did he help? Who was looking after that cat? It was not a cat. He's a Flurkin, I know. So just moving ahead through the trailer here. At this point, okay, so Captain Marvel was flying, and then it looks like she was on another space station or spaceship with these Kree. It looks like the Kree are going to be the villains of this movie, which is good because the Kree have really been the villains of everything. They're a bunch of jerks, and she's now. I'm wondering, did she take Goose with her, or is this a different Flurkin? Uh, Her reaction's incredible. Uh, I think they did a great job casting Kamala Khan because Iman Vellani's just done. Every time we see her, it just gets better and better in this role. Okay, this time they are going through the UNTN. Now I want to know what ship this is. I assume it's some kind of Quinjet or some spacecraft of Sword. A new setting in the MCU. Not sure what this is yet. Let's see, Graveyard, you say, I think 100% they will use the swaps during a fight on purpose once fully figured out to win, all while the dope song is playing. Yeah, I think that's absolutely where things are headed in this. Okay, so interesting setting. I love the curved architecture of this. This kind of looks to me like the Amalfi Coast, or maybe somewhere in the Caribbean. You don't really see these kind of rocky shores in the Caribbean, though. It's a bit more flat. This kind of looks somewhere like in Italy or in Greece. But they put this other kind of CGI architecture over it, so it looks like a mixture of like old school, like like the town in Lucca or Genoa, Italy. But they've added other kinds of interesting. This almost looks like the Asgard afterlife architecture, but this looks like based off of context clues from the rest of the trailer where Zawe Ashton's character is. So this might be another part of Hala or another Kree colony. Their Elba, I guess, because one of my theories is that she might be playing Ronan's daughter, might be known as like Hala the Accuser. It looks like she's carrying Ronan's hammer that he plugged the Infinity Stone, the Power Stone, into. Now, I think that's been destroyed, but she might have like another kind of family ancestral hammer, that staff. We'll get to that in a bit. Remember, Ronan was a son of a son of a son. Like, this was kind of his bloodline vengeance curse against the Xandarians. So he, while all Kree are jerks, he's a particular a-hole because he's the militant zealot who won't even accept peace treaties. Slam Finley says, you make my a day. E-Rock Donkey Teeth says, Monica says her powers are entangled, so that could entangle her powers. Yeah. I guess the question we have now is, by the way, thanks for both of your super chats. The question we have now is, what does that entanglement mean? And is it quantum entanglement? Is it what we saw Scott Lang go through the quantum realm in Ant-Man the Wasp? I think that could be the same kind of phenomenon that's going on, is that what they're going through is some kind of other dimension. It might be the quantum realm, or it might be the negative zone. And when you go through other realms like that, it can entangle your powers with each other because they all kind of come from the same place. And I think the answer to that question, they called it like, what's it called? The Jinn dimension, or the clandestine, the Noor dimension, excuse me, Noor. And that might be the source of all of their powers, and they're all just kind of like connected because there was that rift with the Noor dimension that we saw in the Miss Marvel show, and everything seemed to be kind of ruptured there. Maybe Kamala Khan going through time is what kind of destabilized that. Joshua Reyes says, Mr. Voss, I want to deeply thank you for being a source of happiness in my life. Over the years, your content has been there for me in my time of need. Well, thank you, Joshua, and I really appreciate that sentiment. I'm happy we could help you out here, and thanks for watching our videos. This looks like it's in that Kree setting we saw before. I love the dancing on the show. There was some amazing dance sequences on Ms. Marvel. This doesn't look like, it looks like there's like a mixture of races and cultures here. That's definitely Monica and Carol, I believe, in the middle of it all. And I love that you could see Iman just going nuts in the middle there, just letting go. She's like, hey, we can figure this out later, but let's see if we can figure out this choreography on the fly. It's just so great. Yeah, another moment where things are getting phase shifted, but doesn't it look like Monica Rambeau is controlling her flight here? She's falling with style to catch Kamala. Yeah, I want to know how they ended up here, but it seems like we're going to get like a good, early second act chaos montage of these three women trying to figure it out and just breaking everything. Is Karoon? Do we see Karoon? Sorry, I'm going to go back to see if we saw Karoon. I don't know. Okay. So is this the space station that Nick Fury is now on? They are all wearing the same kind of, whatever that is, the tops that Monica Rambeau was wearing. So yeah, I think this is part of the space station, and I don't think this is the same Skrull space station that was on. Something else has happened between then and now, and I think Secret Invasion will explain that. Gareth McCurry says, I'm excited for all the Flurkins kittens. Yeah, me too. They were like my favorite part of it. Stephen Hyder says, already saw the Voss story of Mephisto on Deep Dive. A lot of fun to relive, but so much fun to experience as it happened. Yeah, it was a fun, crazy trip to go through. Yeah, what a blast. Let's see. Okay, yeah, if you're spamming the chat, I'm just gonna put you on timeout. Sorry, buddy. Just a little timeout. That's not what this is for. Okay, Park Seo-hoon's character. No, I mispronounced it. Park Seo-joon. I'm sorry. Looks like he's part of this society, whatever this other location was. They seem to be pretty old school. Old school armor. I love anytime characters have bizarre masks. Looks like with horns. Reminds me vaguely of Loki, but I don't think that's the case here. Yeah, we don't really know yet. Okay, look at this. Little kittens. It looks like multiple Flurkins on the space station. Maybe that's where Goose has been all this time. And Goose has been getting busy. Now, do we know if Flurkins reproduce asexually? They might. Flora-Colossi do. Other creatures do in the MCU. Justin Kramer says, Eric, glad to be back with you live. Keep on Vossin. Thanks, Justin. Glad to be back with you. Pandas Habitat said, long the lives, Eric. You got to raise the mic volume, though. Oh, I'm sorry, everybody, if I've been a little quiet. I tried to raise it this time. It's just, it's a little sensitive, so I don't want to raise it too much and blow it out. But I'll try to speak up. It's early over here. Yep. Trying to keep up with the super chats, everybody. Dondum says, big fan and very excited to see Carol get extended time in the present day instead of flashback. Yeah, me too. I think my favorite film appearance of the character Carol Danvers so far was in Endgame. I think she was so much fun in Endgame, and I like that interaction she had with Peter Parker. Yeah, I thought she, like, how she immediately, when they were all kind of laying in defeat back on Earth, she's like, all right, I'm going to find a Zorian healing crystal or whatever. Like, she's a very active, fun character. Okay, here are the villains we talked about. This character is still, from what I could see, they might have announced it since then, but Zawe Ashton, she's carrying a similar staff as Ronan. This is the same kind of headpiece that Ronan was wearing. It seems like she's part of the family of, the Accuser family, Ronan the Accuser. She's probably picking up her father's legacy. So while we might not see Ronan in this movie, unless we see him in like archive footage or in some kind of art display, I think this is going to be the villain of the story. Now, the question is, did she reassemble the hammer from the broken pieces after the Battle of Xandar in Guardians of the Galaxy? Because doesn't that look like it was kind of reassembled with some kind of like purple glow? Like she's using something to bind it together. Obviously not the Power Stone. But yeah. So we're back to like the Kree versus Skrull war here, and she's picking up her father's legacy, is my guess. Donkey Teeth says, interesting, no real hint of the villain of this movie. I think this is one hint we have. But he said, my early prediction is Dr. Nasty is portrayed by Tommy Bechtold. I would love that. I would watch that. I would see that 10 times in theaters. Perfect character, perfect villain to to fight these people. Distortion says, where do you get the movie footage and the movie breakdowns? How? Well, this is just a trailer footage. That's how we do most of our B-roll footage. Is we just get it all from the promotional footage for the most part. Okay, I think the one shot of our three women together, they're on, it looks like they're in space, but I think they're really on a space station. Now, they're in the midst of fighting, it looks like, so I don't know if this is early on. No, that's Zoe Ashton, excuse me, sorry. So anytime any of them start to use their powers is when they shift, but now it looks like they're in control of it. So I assume this is in the third act of the movie, because Kamala Khan puts up her light shield, and the moment she does that, she's into Monica Rambeau, and she's ready to send a photon blast right away. And I would assume that as soon as she blasts that, like she's gonna shift into Carol Danvers, whereas like on the other side of that shift, Iman Vellani, Kamala Khan is back in her form, and then now we have Carol over here. So it might be a mix where they can now choose when to switch into each other. So it's rather than being like a handcuff that they're anchored down by, it's something that enables them to do other stuff. So they can kind of choose whether or not to use that. Let's see. I think that might be everything in this trailer. Oh, okay. So, yep. Oh, she's so eager to say we're a team. I mean, we just need to get, we need to get Kamala Khan on a team. You know, any team. It could be the Avengers, it could be the Young Avengers. She's just eager to have other super friends to have her back. Okay, so she's wearing the bangle here. I'm trying to see what the commenter before mentioned about the other bangle. They have these little terrariums in this room. This is a ship that they were piloting before. You can see the cockpit in the background here. Yep. I mean, Iman Vellani is such a delight. I'm just going to take more of your questions because we're at the end of the trailer. It's a bit of a shorter trailer. But again, my full Easter egg breakdown is going to be coming to the channel tomorrow. Jessica and I are going to team up to break down all the Easter eggs in this. So if I miss stuff in this video, don't worry. It'll be covered there. Okay. So the also, you didn't really see my initial reaction in this. That's going to be on the new Rockstars channel in just a couple hours. Yeah, it's going to be a fun one. We did it as a group. So, yeah, there's there's some funny stuff that happens in that one. Be sure to watch that on the main new Rockstars channel. Garth McCurry says, Flurkins reproduced by laying up to 117 eggs. Thank you for the information here. He says, Earth 18157 Kree had a Flurkin breeding program seeding the creatures on inhabited worlds to later attack the inhabitants. Captain Marvel stopped them. Thank you for that information. Yeah, that's interesting to know. Yeah, the Kree having a Flurkin breeding program seems like a problematic thing to get into because these things are dangerous. You're just asking for trouble. Struggling Honeybun says, is the swapping places gimmick how they'll depower Carol to let the story progress? She'd win everything by herself otherwise. I think structurally you might be onto something there. That makes sense because otherwise she seemed really in control of her abilities in the Endgame film. Yeah, I think we need to do something to kind of force her to work with others or to force her to recognize that cooperation is something great. I think that's going to be Carol Danvers' journey for this movie. I just think it's interesting that they didn't call it Captain Marvel 2. They call it the Marvels. So it's more about a family, a sisterhood of women working together. All three of them are the lead character. And I think that's going to be both something structurally in the movie, but like thematically for the characters that like, this is something to where we've all seen them on separate journeys and we've all got to know them and gotten to like them. So now it's going to be like the three of them meeting each other and having this kind of awkward relationship. Also remember, Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers, and Monica Rambeau have some kind of like awkward history. They're like upset with each other, or at least Monica Rambeau. You remember in WandaVision, she's like, they were talking how great Captain Marvel was, how she could have beaten Thanos, and like Monica Rambeau is like, can we change the subject, please? So I think that she might hold some resentment to her Aunt Carol for like leaving them behind, or maybe when Maria Rambeau was going through the cancer, maybe She wasn't there. Okay. Oh, that's what you're referring to. Yeah. Okay. Zoe Ashton might be wearing, and she's definitely wearing some other bangle. I don't know if that is the other bangle. Like definitely the other bangle. But I think we're onto something. I think this tells us that the bangle is what I've been theorizing that it might be just Kree tech. It's like ancient alien Kree tech, and that the other one is possessed by the family of Ronin. It's just interesting. Did she just acquire it, or did Ronin pass it down to her? Is she completely unrelated to Ronin? I just think that this other priestess here looks like they're connected to Ronin. Art says, is the villain wearing the other bangle? Yep, thank you for that, for pointing that out, Art. Graveyard says, thank you, Eric. Keep up the deep dive. Thank you for your super chat. Yeah, I think in general, this is just going to be a really fun movie. I'm excited to see this. I know that there was just some stories about them reworking things. I think that happens on every Marvel movie. I'm not surprised that they're still figuring things out. I do wish that they could go into all these movies with at least more of an organized plan, but I think it's just a result of them just committing to way too much, and it's just harder to keep that continuity and that same tonal connection across all the titles. And I went into that in another video I did on this channel, one of the Investigations Marvel's removed storylines. I highly recommend you check that out. We have a great video coming out this week about the history of post-credit scenes. And how post-credit scenes have become so powerful of a force in franchise filmmaking to where they're almost the tail wagging the dog. So that's going to come out Friday. I think you'll really like that. And then next week, it's going to be, the 21st and then the 28th will be my deep dive into Guardians Volume 1. And then Guardians Volume 2 will come out on the 28th. GSU Eagle says, if you pause the fight at the end when she's shooting the blast, you can see, it's coming from the bangle. Oh, you mean with... Zoe Ashton's character. Yeah, you're right. She definitely does have. She definitely has some kind of glow on the bangle there. Yeah, so that is confirmed. It seemed like the other bangle, or another bangle, is being carried by Zoe Ashton's character, who might be connected to Ronan the Accuser's family tree. I'm going to be wrapping things up here because, we have a lot of work to do today to break this down frame by frame. But again, be sure to keep an eye out on the main new Rockstars channel. You'll see some hilarious reactions from a group of us. And then tomorrow will be Jessica Clemens and I breaking down this frame by frame on the new Rockstars channel for all the Easter eggs. So I'm just going to quickly take a few more questions, and then we'll bounce here. Let's see. Dom... You guys can't spam the comments like this. I'm happy that you're here, but I'm just going to put you in timeout. You can't go crazy like that. I love you guys. Cool. Let's see. Sarah, thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Brady asks, could Goose or the other Flurkins be more important than we think? Flurkins can hold pocket realities, bubbles of space and time that exist in other worlds. I thought that would be the case for the 2019 Captain Marvel movie. That ended up not being the case, but I do think we're going to start seeing more pocket realities, things contained, like little bubble realities, that when you go inside of something, there's a whole other world there. It'd be fun to see if maybe inside of the Flurkin's mouth is that other Italian-looking place. Like, could this all be in a pocket reality inside of a Flurkin? That'd be fun to see. Just going to take the last few super chats and then we'll bounce. Grinning Wombat says, do you think the force field in space, the beginning, is a physical manifestation of another timeline? Whew. So an incursion, maybe? It could be an incursion. I think we're seeing a rift into another realm more than another universe. And yeah, what's the difference between a universe and a realm? I think a realm is more of an ethereal, abstract space that is the buffer space between separate universes. Mishkar says, always a pleasure. Thank you, Mishkar. Ezekiel says, you're the man, Eric. New Rockstars, and you need to be MCU canon soon in the subtle way y'all mentioned where you see someone watching one of your videos. Yeah, that's my hope. It's like, I don't need to play a superhero or a villain or anything like that, but I would love if they could just like have me play a YouTuber or someone who's just like ranting about some theory on someone's computer screen. Noob Master says, with the cosmic levels of movies and storylines like these, how do you think they could connect more to grounded stories going forward in the MCU? I think Nick Fury really is going to be the bridge, right? Because Nick Fury is both in this very cosmic story, but I mean, if you've seen the trailer for Secret Invasion, it looks like a classic spycraft thriller show, and I'm really, really excited for Secret Invasion after that trailer. So it's really just through the characters. I think if you get the character, if you trust the character, you can follow them into any kind of genre. a character is not solely a reflection of the genre they're within. I think the MCU, in some cases, has done a really good job bending the genre. Like we saw Loki in some stories in kind of like a classic mythological story in Thor, but then we saw him in like a Douglas Adamsian sci-fi like time story in Loki, which tonally were just very different. JB says, if the bangle is Kree tech, does that make the 10 rings Kree tech as well? Yeah, I think so. That's a theory I've gone with for a while. Gabriel, love you. Eric, love you. Gabriel, thank you for your super chat. And the last one I'm going to say is Flurkin Kiddens from Monster Man Alex. That's all I need to say. Okay, we're going to leave it there. But thank you, Monster Man Alex, for your super chat. Thank you all for joining me. Again, check out the new Rockstars channel for the Easter egg breakdown. If you want to support the deep dive, please subscribe. We're not going to do live streams like this all the time, just when like brand new trailers come out that I'm really excited to talk about. You can support us by going to nerdriot.shop. We have some great deep dive themed merch lines that like support this channel directly. And yeah, subscribe, because it's going to be we're gonna have some amazing content. You're gonna love this Guardians rewatch series. I think it's like, I don't know if I found the Easter egg, but I found so many new Easter eggs in Guardians of the Galaxy that I don't know how I missed it. But yeah, thank you all for watching. I love all you guys. Hit me up in the comments and on Twitter at EA Voss. Subscribe to New Rockstars and the Deep Dive, and I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.